questions about those early days, and maybe lessons we could learn from you back in 13, 14, 15, 16, like trying to create a Bitcoin fund. I mean, I can't imagine the conversations you had, the weird looks, the news headlines you were battling. How did that prepare you to be the Pantera of today?
Yeah, it was a fun time. It was kind of, the basics. I spent probably 6 months thinking about Bitcoin and whether it was, a good investment or whether, we wanted to get involved. Um, and when I ultimately decided to launch the fund, um, we repurposed an old fund that used to be an FX trading fund for Pantera because it was already registered in the Cayman and actually was grandfathered with a lower minimum so we could get more retail people in. But it took a while to get it all done. And so we launched it and we didn't really have all our docs, right? And all that stuff. And it really was kind of the Wild West. All these friends in Silicon Valley and tech CEOs trying to invest in the fund or get exposure. It was actually very hard to buy Bitcoin back then. It was all Mt. Gox and, crazy exchanges. I mean, it's totally different now, but it was really hard to get invested in Bitcoin. And so people would, I had one CEO of a big tech company that sent us a few $1 million. And a couple of weeks later, he called and he said, "Hey, what are the terms?" We didn't have any documents or, any, real marketing material or anything. So it was really fun to kind of get all those people engaged. Obviously, we had a very slow going with endowments or other very institutional investors, but a lot of really interesting people from Wall Street and technology decided to invest. And a good little story about how much the industry's changed is I spent a bit of time trying to figure out what exchanges to use. And it was really, really primordial days. And at the time, Mt. Gox was 85% of the whole market. And I had visited Mt. Gox in Tokyo and met with the management. And I spent 2 days there, actually. And I just felt like something was wrong. I didn't know what was wrong, but so we decided never to do business with Mt. Gox. So we needed to do business with other people. And so we set up an account with this new startup and called Coinbase, and they had one employee at the time. And when Bitcoin hit $65, decided to launch the fund because it had come down from $140 or whatever. So it was, come down more than 50%. Decided that would be the day we needed to launch it. And it was actually over the 4th of July weekend. So I sent a bunch of money to Coinbase and Bitstamp. And a couple days before that to get ready. And as soon as Bitcoin hit 65, just intuition, I decided, okay, this has got to be the bottom. It's time to go. We got to start buying. And so I went in and I hit buy, and a pop-up said that my limit was $50, and not like some Wall Street people used to say in the 80s, bucks being millions, like $50 US, like one Ulysses S. Grant. And I was like, oh no, I'm trying to buy like, $1 million or something in Bitcoin at the time. And so I sent an email in all caps to support@coinbase.com saying, I just sent you $2 million. I want to buy Bitcoin. I have a limit. And 4 days later, I got an email back from their only employee, this guy named Olaf. And he said they were going to up my limit to $300 a day. So it just shows how different the industry is. They're trading 70 billion a day now of Bitcoin.
Wow. And you invested in those companies afterwards, Coinbase and Bitstamp.
Yeah, so it was really a great example of prototyping things. We still do that a lot. We still try and use the product, obviously meet the teams. And so ultimately we did invest in Bitstamp first and later Acme and Coinbase. And then, many other companies that are, actually two other companies in our part of Coinbase, Tagomi and Zoppo, from being customers theirs first.
Wow. And that must have been hard to avoid Mt. Gox back in the day when that was where all the volume was. But I guess you really get a feel when you go into the headquarters, kind of like in an old school way.
Yeah, they were doing 85% of the market. I mean, that was the most dominant exchange I've ever seen in any industry. But it really just felt like a lot of stuff didn't add up. And then ultimately, they were involved in those two U.S. federal agents that went rogue Carl Mark Force and the other guy's name escapes me, who they were extorting Mt. Gox and they were federal agents. I mean, there was a lot of super strange stuff going on. And those agents who were rogue are actually the ones that seized $5 million of Mt. Gox's money in a bank in San Francisco. I mean, there was just a lot of weird, and obviously none of that was public at the time, but you could just kind of feel something really weird was going on. And I think it was October of that year that they ultimately went under.
How did you keep the faith over those years when not only there's been 90% Bitcoin corrections, but also crazy news like that? I had a guest on yesterday who said, of all the historic markets on Wall Street, the media has probably been the most disfavorable to this one. How do you keep that North Star?
Oh, there's been some dark times. I was thinking back in 2016, we're trying to raise our second venture fund. And Bitcoin had been down for 2 years. And the total of that entire year was we raised $2 million of inflows and we had 60 million of outflows. So, there were some dark moments where it's just like, this just is not working. Like nobody cares. So it's fun now, obviously we're maxed the other way where everybody loves blockchain and Bitcoin, so it's, there's definitely some times, it looked pretty dicey.